This is Dan Stofko, and you are listening to the Three Count Podcast.
Welcome everybody to another great edition of the Three Count Podcast presents Now Entering, and I'm your host Clifford Red Dawg Miller, the man that leads you up that mountain called wrestling. And with this being season 7 or 400 and I don't know 40 something episode, I would just hope you say it with me. I am your Sherpa because, like your tribal chief, acknowledge me. But like every good Sherpa, you gotta have someone who's been there, done that, and can do it more efficiently. You can. That's why it's never about me. It's about who's entering. So who's entering the ring? You can find this man at PPW. You can find him at ACW. You can find him at SWA soon. I hope that's a thing. I'm just gonna put out there early. You can find this man over at Riot Maker. You can find this man at ECWA, a part of the Super A for 2026. He is the man, the myth. He is also a tag team specialist as well as a singles worker. Has his own faction that he rolls with. He is Dan Stofko.
What's going on, man? Thank you for having me. It's a long time coming.
Bruh, isn't it? Like we have been like crossing paths like so many times, and it's funny because like I've seen you a couple times working since I moved out of Maryland. I've seen you a couple times working over with Nick, and so I was like, oh snap. So then I remember I think the first time we met, uh, Nick introduced us, and I was like, yeah, I'm his favorite student. Like,
Yo, yeah, it was. I believe it was at SWA, and and I was like in the ring. I was helping set up, and they needed a ref. TJ needed an extra ref, and so Nick
yeah,
threw me out, and so I refed for the first time. I never refed a practice match or anything, so I did a women's match, then I did your guys' match, which I believe was main event or co-main. And I've never been more nervous in my life. Like no match has ever made me that nervous. But then afterwards, you came up to me and we had a nice conversation. You told me if I ever need anything to hit you up. So ever since
absolutely.
then, yeah,
It's funny too because we keep crossing paths, and then we're like, yeah, we got to work a match. We got to get this
yeah,
together. Finally, we got the opportunity to work a match. We got to work at Right Maker Pro Wrestling, which was a massive thing, and we had, so there was a lot to be learned. Because I'll be fair with you, man. So in November, my last match down in Pennsylvania, I was weighing like 221, and I had just lost. I think I was weighing like maybe like 207 when we worked. So I'm like, my body's like still adjusting to like all the weight loss and everything,
yeah.
and like, man, I felt horrible because I cast out like somewhere in like between like the middle to like the third, like the back end of the match. I was like, damn, bro, like I was trying to get it together. It's like
Dude,
I felt so
no,
bad.
you know what's funny though? Because I just recently did a bulk and now I'm on my cut, and
Yeah,
I gained close to 30 pounds, and I didn't put on too much fat. Actually don't know how much, but like I think I put on more than I realized because now on the cut it's taking a little bit
yeah,
longer, but it wasn't like a bad amount. It was a clean bulk, and I was really worried going into it about how cardio would be. But like I didn't change my cardio, I didn't do any less, I did actually more. And I've found that it's been harder on the cut to keep up the cardio than it was on the bulk. And I think that's probably just an energy thing, carbohydrates, all that. But I've found myself, I've always had like a good second win, but that first initial explosion, it's like it's very good, and then I'll have a little bit of a drop off, and I need to like get that second win. And it's crazy. Like I would have never thought that was the case, but that's been something I've been going through as well.
yeah. It was crazy for me because like I've been doing like I think just there's just like this whole thought process of like all this energy that you have built up, and then it's funny because like I laugh because like all these like older dudes have like these big bellies and stuff like that lift for hours. And I'm like, bro, how do you keep going? And it's like, no, I just have all this like energy to go. I'm like, all right, man, like I'm dying on the treadmill and I'm only doing like a three walk. I'm down for like, and I'm like, it's so hard. So like I made it a priority to like start like focusing back up on the cardio and really pushing on the cardio. And I worked a match probably 2 weeks later, and man, I left the ring and I was like, bro, I could go probably another 20 minutes.
Awesome.
And the guy that I was working was like, dog, I was dying. He's like, you were carrying this match, and I was like, weird. I was like, not a thought process I had.
That's funny.
So I was like, oh man. No, it's funny because like I've been talking about you, been singing your praises a lot, and especially with you being in it, ECWA, and then also just like the way you've been working. I actually sent out your stuff, which I don't do often. I sent out your stuff to a couple of promoters like up in this area because I was like, yo, you gotta bring him up here. I was
I
like,
really appreciate that, man. That means a lot. Thank you.
absolutely. So it's funny because you had mentioned prior to us hopping on here, right? You had mentioned that you listened to a couple episodes that you recently listened to Miles, who was our
Yeah.
season premiere. And it's funny because Miles brought up something, and I didn't know this about you until I started researching you. Miles brought up that if you look at pro wrestlers, you could fill up a baseball team. And I noticed that you also were a baseball
Yeah.
player.
Yeah. I knew it's funny because I knew Miles played college sports. Like I heard him talk about it, I heard him and I found out it was baseball. I was like, no way. Because I was literally like I had this thought and there's certain people that I've had a conversation with and I think, you know, in like the real world, like athletes find one another, you know. But then there's something also with baseball where we all somehow have this connection without knowing it. And he and I never had a conversation before. We said hi at one MCW show, and it was at Fan Jam a few weeks ago. And then there we are at Super 8 in the back, and somehow we got into a conversation for like 45 minutes about baseball. And it's just like it's one of those it's a weird bond. Like wrestlers have our unique bond, and then baseball players have a complete separate one. So it's kind of weird to see all the worlds collide at once.
It's funny because like when I'm around, I don't know. It's maybe just the way that I carry myself or something. But when I get around a lot of different veterans, like they all know. They're like, "Oh, you're a veteran." I was like, "How can you tell?" They're like, it's just the energy you're putting out there and the persona you got. Like it just tells me that you're a veteran. Like, weren't you Air Force? Or like somebody will tell them like, "Oh, you're Air Force," or "Oh, I hear you're Air Force." Like, oh, like that night at Riot Maker, I forget his name, but he was like, "Yeah, I was a." He's like, "I'm a Marine," and I was like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah.
So I find that a lot. Like you always like you're always driven like by wrestling, but then also you'll find randomly like other people who have like the connection with you based off of something else. So I catch that a lot too. I'm like, damn. So I understand that bond you have with baseball players. I
Yeah.
have that with like military vets as well, and I'm like, this how do we find ourselves in these
Well,
worlds?
and it's funny you say that because, like, I told you my dad's a Marine, and growing up, like, I would be able to see it. There's a different like aura out there, you know, and even like to this day, like, I you can tell, like, if you've been around it, you know somebody, you know, it's my dad. Like, I can tell somebody for the most part. Obviously, there's some that you can't, but like, there's just a different kind of presence, and yeah, you can absolutely feel it. It's crazy.
Yeah, and that's why like it's funny because I talk with so Chaz is very much Chaz is he's a martial artist, but he's also a very big actor, and so when you see Chaz like working, like he's got like these huge facial expressions, like he's always like like big mouth, big eyes, and it's just like the actor side of him like doing it. So I'm like, yo, this is too funny. But recently, I started finding like other people who know Chaz because of acting, and I'm like, Chaz hasn't even. I don't even know if Chaz has an IMDb page yet, but like the fact that y'all can like pinpoint like, oh yeah, I know that you're an actor because of this and this and this, and I'm like,
Right.
bro, the ideas that people have together are just insane, man. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit, right? So we were talking about right before we hopped on here, we were talking about our match, right? So we were at Riot Maker Pro Wrestling a couple, well, we were like three at this point, probably about a month ago. And when you guys see this, whenever it happened in 2026, don't worry about it. Just hey, you can go to Cage Fight and you can look it up. No, so we were talking about this before, and this was kind of a cool lesson. I wanted to bring this up on the show. So we were talking about our match. We had a good match. Like I will be fair, we had a good match. We had a lot of fun. The biggest part too, we were both safe. We both got to go home, right? Um, what was killer though was that the match before us was also a good match, and the crowd was really into it. And that I kind of felt like the crowd was a little bit tired, and because they're all energy with this tag match that just happened for us. And so recently, I was watching this video of JBL. He was talking with the Undertaker, and they were talking about this match that he had with Eddie Guerrero, and the Undertaker had just like torn the house down like just right before. I think it was like a house show, maybe even SmackDown. But anyway, so Eddie and JBL like worked their match right after, and JBL was talking about how he was had all the spots and they were gonna do this double arm drag that Eddie did all the time, and he would hit him with the second one, it would just whip him out the ring, and Eddie, he gets put in a rest hold, and you know there's JBL and he calls it out like do the double arm drag, and he's like nah SA stay right here, and then later, the crowd like is still still at a 10. He's like he with the double arm drag. He's like nah SA stay right here, and so he started noticing that the crowd's energy was like starting to come down, and at the one point, uh, the fans started talking to each other because they were getting bored because they were just in this rest hold for so long. They started talking to each other, and then Eddie was like, "You ready to go do the double arm drag?" And he was like, "Yeah, let's get to work." And so then they got to work, and then they brought the crowd back up, and then the crowd was riding their energy versus like the previous match. I was thinking about that, and then we were talking about it before we jumped on here. I was like, man, that's like a cool little lesson. That was something that I was glad I learned. Just like, and this literally happened like a couple days ago. So I was like, man, like, this could not be perfect timing to have a conversation about this.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because I've been getting to be in more opportunities of main events or more main event opportunities, and more recently, it would have been in February, end of February. I was in my first PPW main event, and that's my place. That's where I found myself. That's kind of my home. It's there in ACW, and it's kind of notorious for running long. And once you get later in the show, that crowd's pretty quiet. And the match wasn't supposed to happen. It got changed like the day of or the day before, and I wrestled twice. So they already saw me one time. Now they're seeing me again, and it's with one of my good friends, Dio Bando. And when I came out of the curtain, it was very quiet, and I haven't heard a crowd that quiet for me there in since I started. And when he came out, it was a little bit louder. And fortunately, we kind of were able to plan for that in advance because we knew how that crowd was. So we started off very slow. We knew we had as much time as we wanted. We started off very slow. We slowly built up to it to the point by the end of the match, it was one of the louder reactions we've had there. Um, and that's one thing, being able to plan for it. And I think we didn't have that in mind necessarily. And also, like, again, all the credit goes to the guys before us. What was it? It was Sean LaBelle. Um,
Yeah, Kurt Blair,
uh, yep, Kurt,
Jay,
TJ, and oh my
the
gosh,
other monster, by the
gosh, I
way. Yeah,
can't think of his name right now. Oh my gosh, I
yeah,
feel so bad.
the crowd was
Um, yeah,
hyped.
they were. I'm gonna find his name then. I can't believe I forget it. But they had such an awesome match, like match of the night for sure. And we that like you said, that's a learning experience. Like next time we know. So
Yeah, and it works, and it works for us because like in the same in the same step, like it's really cool because like we know that we had like a great match, and everybody talked to us about the match afterwards. They're like, "Oh my god, that was so much fun," blah 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 blah. But it was like, yeah, I was like, but like reaction wise, like the crowd really kind of felt, and then it's a lesson to be learned, but it was cool. So I was like, yo, very appreciative like hearing this, and I was like, all right, next time like we gonna like I've literally been talking about it. I was like, bro, I'm trying to run this back. I'm trying to run this back in such
absolutely.
a better shape because I was like, I'm here for all of this, and it's I, it's very off. It's not very often where I get hyped up about wanting to work another person again, like constantly, and so like, and it's happened a few times. Like, the boys of pure ignorance are always on the top list. Like anytime I get to work those guys, it's fun. Getting to work with you, I was like, damn, this is crazy. I was like, I want to run this back. And then like TJ is another one where I'm like, yo, I'll work TJ Sykes anywhere at any time. Like I don't care. So yeah, I was trying to think of like, I'm like, bro, like I need to get back either West Virginia or get you into like we get to like Pennsylvania or we go to Maryland. I don't care.
Absolutely.
Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island. I don't care. We go anywhere. I was like, we run this back, and the crowd still in it. Oh, and Indino is another name of person that
Mhm.
I could work anywhere and have so much fun with. Um, but yeah, so I've been thinking about it. I was like, bro, I was like, this is a great lesson to learn. And then, it goes back to crediting and just like listening to the crowd and just making sure, like, it's so important. Because one thing I was talking about it with people who don't watch wrestling, I tell them all the time, like the crowd is a character in wrestling. Like they, they have the energy to control a match. They can like, they can take away from it. So you have to keep people engaged. And it goes back to something else I've been like practicing a lot lately, and even talking about, and just like trying to figure out how I can have a conversation in my match. But like John Cena talks about it in an interview with Cody, where he's like, "Yo, like wrestling is a conversation." He's like, "I could talk to you for 45 minutes, and then you'll get bored, or I can have me have a conversation. I say something, and then I let you have the opportunity to say something, and then I'll say something back, and then I'll let you say something back." And that's how I've been playing my heel work. Is like, I'm just gonna come in and I'm just gonna cook, and I'm just gonna talk shit, and I'm gonna let you talk your shit, but then I'm gonna go back and talk more shit about you. So I've been trying to plan it out like a lot more now as far as character wise. So I've changed like a lot of stuff about what Red Dog is that's more natural to me, and then just like amplify it to 100.
Yeah. Also, I want to say Justice Tank. I knew the name was going to come to me. Justice Tank was
Yes.
TJ's partner. Um, no, I agree with that completely. I think wrestling's so weird with it is art, and that's why I can't stand when people act like there's one way to do it. It drives me insane. And there's obviously advice that can be taken from anyone, and I think like the whole dynamic of a heel is so fascinating to me, and I have more recently been finding a way to be me still as a heel. When I first started, like all I wanted to do was be a heel, and I think it was an insecurity where I was like, I don't know how to be a good guy. And that goes back to like being like a baseball player. Funny enough, is I tried to be a heel. I would talk so much trash. I would do so many shenanigans out there to intentionally try to piss off the other team and the parents of the other team. And I try to use it just honestly as an MMA fan, as a wrestling fan, like especially looking at it from terms of fighting, I would see it get into people's heads. Like nobody's doing this in baseball. Let me try to do this. And I would talk a bunch of trash. I would do the Vinnie Mac walk, the McGregor walk, whatever you want to call it. Like I would do whatever I wanted. And I saw the results. And so I was like, I can't really do the whole fire up thing as a babyface. I'll just be a heel. And it was very easy, but then I found myself not necessarily showing who I am as a wrestler because like I have a unique style and something I was blessed with a lot of athleticism, and I wasn't showing that. And then it wasn't until I started to be a babyface more often, and I didn't become a good babyface until I became a good heel, and then I didn't become a better heel until I became a good babyface. And I think where I kind of lack in a character, I'm able now to show off my athleticism and get the initial pop of doing something cool and get right back to being as a heel, if that makes any sense. And I know it's not traditional, but it's like what you're saying with the going back and forth is I'm still trying to obviously work on that. Like we're all, working even if you're at the highest level. But I've been very fascinated in all my studying and then watching myself back and blending the babyface and heel aspect to it and trying to really just make it into one because at the end of the day my quote unquote character is just me and also adapting to the audience. I would say like the person that I am at times at Riot Maker, especially in our match, is not who I normally am as a heel, but that's that feeling of there's three people in this match really. It's you, it's me, it's the crowd. Okay, I can't be like that more stuck up um knight royal type character that I have. I kind of have it like a Game of Thrones look in my mind. That
Yeah.
doesn't really work there all the time.
Right.
You need to almost have a little bit of a goofy like, okay, we want to see this guy get thrown in the buckle and flip and land on his head and make fun. So it's all an art form and we're all just trying to figure it out as we go.
Yeah, and it's where like one of those things too. Like I remember when I first got into it, and it was crazy. I don't know if I don't know if Nick ever told you this, but when I got in, I thought like your trainer gave you your character, and then you had to figure it out from there. So he was like, yeah, I want you to be the military guy. I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. He's like, yeah, but you gotta be like stoic and like upfront. And I'm like, sure. So I like tried it for like 8 months. And while like it was kind of working, like I wanted to like branch and just be more like goofy, just more dark humor kind of stuff, like what the actual military is
Hmm.
like. And so he was like, fine, go ahead and do that. And so like it just ramped. And he was like, yeah, you're gonna be doing this for a while. And so I kind of blend in like the humor of like Deadpool with like the military and then just kind of stuff. And then recently I was like, all right, I want to get away from all this. Like we trying to do the thug thing now.
Yeah.
Like more like I want to be more hardcore, more not like hardcore wrestling,
Yeah.
just more street, more down to earth, gritty. And I was like, yeah, I don't want to. We can blend some humor into it, but like I'm not really trying to do all that. And that's really started to take off again too. So it is about going back and forth about being a good heel, being a good baby face, and going back to being a great heel, then going back to being a great baby face. So it's like this balance game that you're playing, and so like I've been able to blend like a bunch of stuff together, like in a match. Everybody like it's funny because like Vam at the last Riot Maker show before we wrestled, he was like, "Yo, do that grenade spot that you do," and I was like, "Bro, I ain't done the grenade spot in like a year," and it's because like I got away from it because I was like, I'll still hit the DDT, but I'm not really trying to do like the whole like, "Hey, it's a grenade,"
Hmm.
and I know it gets over with the crowd, but I was like, "Yo," so like in our match. When I hit it, I just like it just happened quick. I just act like I threw a grenade up and it came in,
Yeah.
but I don't really do it all that much because I'm like I kind of got over it, and I was like I just want to keep pushing and keep seeing where I can go. So it's always like good to like have like the your B list kind of stuff that makes sense while you're still working on your A list moves. So that way, like in case something happens, you're like, I can always whip this back out, and crowds will laugh at it. Like, but yeah, it's one of those things where I'm like still playing and like trying to learn who I am. So I was like, let me start playing with the Def Jam Fight for New York character because that's
Mhm.
where I want to be at, and that's where I'm trying to like turn the big ass boat that way.
Yeah, the character, it's so funny you say that about when you started, because that's what happened to me, where you know, the whole like sugar thing was something I had in college that was just kind of fun, and then I was like, this kind of goes, and again, big fight fan, like the nickname's kind of synonymous with some of the greatest fighters of all time, and it just rolls off the tongue really well. But it wasn't ever supposed to be like some pretty boy like that. That's not me, you know. And it was like pretty boy, baby face, they want like that old school, and I didn't know how the heck to do that. Like I'm doing all these like pretty moves and stuff, and then they want me to like be like, let's go, that like that's not me. And so I kind of kept to what they initially had and had it as a heel, and I was doing more goofy stuff. And like I think there's a time and place for it. Like one of probably my favorite wrestler of all time, definitely, is Kenny Omega. And I think he's the perfect example of somebody that can have that serious Tokyo Dome main event, but then also wrestle a little girl. And so I think that's one of the main things with like finding, okay, the crowd doesn't want the more serious stuff. They want to laugh a little bit. Okay, I'll be a little bit more goofy. But then what's been really funny is I love being a babyface now. I prefer it. And I'm taking, without, whether I realize it or not, everything that I learned from those early days of training into being a babyface, but also a heel. And it's funny because it's not the traditional of like hit that arm drag and yeah, let's go. But it's the when you kind of lack that character, which I will always say, like I do lack a bit of a like I have a hard time trying to pinpoint who Dan Stofko is. But if you
Yeah.
watch one of my matches, you'll hear the crowd, and this might sound arrogant, I don't mean for it to, but you watch one of the matches, you'll hear the crowd like they relate to me, and they will feel what I'm putting out there for them. And it's very hard to do that if you don't have a character, but they see like that passion, and I do think that they see themselves in me, because at the end of the day, if these people are driving out to watch independent wrestling, guys that for the most part don't have names, they love pro wrestling.
Yeah.
And people can say whatever they want about me. There's two things that they cannot take away. One, how much I love pro wrestling, and two, that no matter what the match, I'm giving my 100%. And sometimes to a fault, I will say, sometimes I should probably pull back a little bit, but they will feel that, and I think that they can relate to that. And so I don't even have to think about that yelling, screaming, and oh, fire up. Like that just comes natural because it's real. Like it's a true passion. And I think there's times where guys will call a spot where they're like, okay, and here I'm gonna fire up. And I almost never do that because it just comes when it comes. Like it's
Yeah.
I don't do it as a part of a spot. Like it's real. And it's just kind of funny thinking back to like the evolution of a character where it's like, man, Sugar Dan was very much a character that evolved into being the same guy that I am now, and I just dropped the nickname. So it is really interesting how that works.
Yeah, what's crazy to me is that when, like, especially because I love being a baby face, loved it, and so when I got put out there, like being a baby face, like I was there, and I love connecting with the audience. I love like getting that emotion stirring up and having them like cheer you on. But man, I love being a heel. I I think it's so much fun to just be able to pull people and get them to hate you and tell whatever it is that you need them to do, right? Like I love that heel side of things where it's like some like I remember I was working in a match and this lady was talking to me and she was like, "Yo, get in and wrestle, get in and wrestle," and I was like, I started, I was working this dude, have him in an arm bar, and I'm just looking at the lady. I was like, "Hey, remember when you said to get in there and wrestle? I'm winning right now. How's that feel?"
Yeah.
And I love driving that emotion because I think one of the things I've learned a lot, and I'm grateful for having such cool mentors, like in different stages of my career. Well, my career, it was like TJP said it, man. He was like, he's like, there's two jobs like in this business, right? There's a baby face, and their job is to connect with the crowd, and then there's a heel, and his job is to take everything away from the crowd, right? And he's like, so the way you connect is that you know you stir up those emotions. You get you know that you're their champion. You fight for them. He's like, but as a heel, your job is to fight the crowd, like you are talking to the crowd. The babyface's job is just like he represents the people while you represent everything that they hate. And it's just about you going out there and just talking as much trash as you can get, or you just saying things to just stir up emotions, or you're beating up the heel or the baby face and you're talking to them and you're getting all these emotions. And man, I really took that to heart. And so like in my matches and stuff, like I'll take a baby face to the ground and I just look at everybody in the crowd and I just start talking to them like, yo, this is your guy. This is who you want to be your champion. This is your person. This person sucks compared to what I am. And like I remember we're at this match, and I hit my friend, and he like stood up, and I kicked him, and I sat him back down, like, sit your dumb ass back down. And I was like, no, you guys gonna do about this? And then the crowd was like, boo, and I was like, don't boo me. I've seen what makes you cheer, and it's disgusting. And just keep going on about my business, because I'm
Yeah.
like, yo, I need you to hate me. And then once he like started throwing shots, the crowd's like getting into it, like, yeah, get it. We don't like him. Like, yeah, I'm like, all right,
Absolutely.
got
And,
you.
yeah, and it's funny, like I'm big into studying. Like I have matches on all day. And I try to study again with the babyface aspect that comes so natural. So I find myself studying heels more often. And I'm like, for a while early on, I would study like the classic heels, right? Guys that I'm gonna say didn't do much, right? Uh, quote unquote. But then I'm like, well, I want to still hit my stuff, and I know that I can show off that part. And so I was like, okay, if I'm gonna be a good heel, like I'm gonna make this almost a little bit difficult for the babyface. And my thought process was, we can have a better match because I was even at PPW trying to be a heel where people were starting to kind of like cheer for me. So I was taking even more away from what I was doing. And then I was like,
Yeah,
all right. I was already not doing too much of what I do. Now I'm taking even more away. So I was like, how can I do my stuff and still get the heat? So I'm not counting there because that was a weird situation, especially with storylines. But I started studying guys like Will Ospreay during his heel run. And it's hard to study Japanese wrestling and try to translate that to independence because it's a very different sport over there. So I would study, the New Japan stuff still, and Japanese wrestling is my favorite kind of wrestling. But I was studying his independent stuff when he was a heel, and it was fascinating because he was in a tough spot of he's getting paid a lot of money to come in, and the fans want to see Will Ospreay wrestle. He's the best wrestler in the world, and he needs to hit all of his stuff because the people are expecting him to hit all of his stuff, but he needs them to boo him because he's staying consistent with his heel character. And I was in a weird time of growing up where it's like I had the best wrestling in the world going on all at once. And meanwhile, while Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi and Kazuchika Okada are at the top of the game in New Japan, here's young Will Ospreay coming up as a junior. Now he's a heavyweight at this time in 2020, 2021. Heavyweight heel, completely different from that. And you saw the complete evolution. And I started trying to take almost the beats of what he was doing because he was so good at having that fight in the baby face and still getting all of his stuff in, but it was the placement of where he was hitting those things where it would get that pop of like, oh crap, that was really cool. Oh shit, it's the bad guy hitting that, you know? And it makes sense because you watch a movie and it's like Ivan Drago is one of the coolest characters in cinema to me. He's a bad guy, but it's freaking awesome seeing him throw those punches. So it's like
Yep.
it's almost it creates the better match where it's like as the heel, hey, I'm still gonna get my stuff. I'm gonna place it where I'm gonna get booed, but like you need to now outwork me. You know what I mean? And it puts that competitive side into it, which I love because I like competing with one another. That makes a match better to me. So it's really interesting. Again, that's where I say about it being an art. Like I'm sure there's some people that would hear that and be like, all right, shut the hell up,
You're doing too
Good
much
work
of your
holds. You're
show.
doing too much. And that's perfectly fine. Like I get it. I'm sure there are times where I do too much, but like that's the style of wrestling that I love and I'm trying to have fun with it?
No, you bring up a good point because like whenever we're like cheering for like heels at times that we're not supposed to be cheering for, I think about like Thanos when he just fucked up Hulk, and
Yeah.
we're like, oh snap, Hulk just got the hands. So
Well,
yeah,
and like I'm a Star Wars fan. Like Anakin Skywalker, he's a horrible person in episode 3, right? Well, as a kid, we were all wearing Anakin Skywalker costumes. Even though we know what he's killing kids, he's killing all the and it's like, but it was sick. And like,
I,
but at the end of the day, like they told the story where, hey, he's doing all these cool moves. He's actually even better than Obi-Wan Kenobi. Obi-Wan's the babyface in that. He has his hopes, but he comes back in the end. And it's like, really, if you study TV shows, movies, they're telling us exactly how to do it. You can do all your cool stuff. It's where you put it and how does the babyface respond.
yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, like you think about like the fight with Qui Gon Jinn and Darth Maul, like Ray Park is a one of a kind talent,
Yeah.
and to watch him just going in on Qui Gon and the way that he moves with the double staff, you're like, oh my god, this is so beautiful. Why am I cheering for that guy? Like
Yeah.
I'm supposed to cheer for Liam Neeson. That's the Taken guy. Now now he's dead. Like,
Right. No, it's such a good point, and like I love studying. Like I was saying, I think I said it to you before the pod. I don't remember, but like studying anything because whether it be other wrestlers, other athletes, actors, musicians, like I'm a diehard Star Wars fan, and I love watching the movies over and over again, finding something new. And one of my favorite scenes in all the movies. This is probably silly, and maybe some people pass over it, but it's after Darth Maul kills Qui-Gon, right? Big heel moment there. Obi-Wan's got all the emotion. They're standing there with a beam in front of them, waiting. They know it's about to go. Obi-Wan's kind of hyping himself up. He's bouncing around. Darth Maul's just pacing. That
yeah,
right there, that sets the tone for a start of a match, right?
yeah,
Like if we wrestle again, there's no reason we couldn't do something like that. And it's just like you can take something from anything in life and put that into wrestling, and it's like Darth Maul looks sweet. He's got the cool look. He's got the double bladed lightsaber. Everybody wanted that. but he can still be the bad guy, and ultimately he was. Like, you're not cheering for him to win that fight, but you know how cool he is.
Facts, facts. It's crazy to think about like how far like, and you can look through like different eras of like different. You brought up a great. I mean, at one point in time, everybody wanted to be Clubber Lang. Like they were,
Yeah,
everybody was Mr. T for a long time, and he was the bad guy. Like in bad guy per se. You know, he was the guy that everybody wanted to fight. But when I talk about it a lot, like right, and you mentioned it with mixed martial arts. I've been talking about this recently about the evolution of the UFC. So I've been watching UFC since UFC one. Like
yeah,
I am old school VHS, McNichols Arena. Like that's me, right? And so I talk about the evolution of like MMA and UFC, and like right now there's like this weird thing happening in the UFC, right? And I say this in the sense that you have to be like pretty much like an Olympian in whatever sport that you're primary gonna be in, right? Whether it's striking, grappling, or submission, right? And then you have to be elite at the other three or the other two forms, right? So wrestling, striking, or submissions. It's just got to be. It's just this is the way it's got to be, and I'm here for it. Like I love the fact that we've gotten to this point. But the problem I'm having with UFC is all these guys who are like, "Hey, I'm just here to sell the fight." Like, I really I respect my opponent. He's really good, and I just look forward to seeing you on Saturday. And it's like, shut up. Make me care about this fight. Like I have a problem. Like I don't care what it is. Like Conor McGregor and Colby Covington and like George St. Pierre, like just a one time George St. Pierre like talk that shit to Matt Hughes, like you look at Brock Lesnar, Alistair Overeem, like all these guys, these are large characters, and they got in the ring. They did what they did. Chael Sonnen talked himself into
yep,
two championship fights. Didn't deserve to be in any one of them. He got himself into two fights and lost both of them,
yeah.
but he talked himself into it. Like people want to see bad guys who are good characters. And there was a fan that was talking with Colby Covington, and it's video out there. You can actually find it. And guys like Colby Covington's like, hey man, thank you so much. I appreciate everything. You're doing a great job. And then he's like, yo, why don't you act like this, like in front of like the big cameras? And he's like, would you have noticed me before? He's like, no. He's like, and that's why I don't act that way. And then that was it. Like that was a simple comment. I was like, yeah, that's why I want to watch Colby Covington get knocked out. Or I want to watch Conor McGregor lose. I wanted to see Floyd get beat.
Yeah.
They sold the fights, man. They knew how to push the buttons, and I'm like, that has to be the next evolution of UFC. You have to sell me the fight. Sure, you guys can backstage, after the fight. Hey man, much love. Thank you so much for the fight. I appreciate it while you're like fixing your teeth or you're getting your head sewn back together. But like I wanna be like, hey, that guy's talking shit, bro. Like Israel Adesanya was great when he got knocked out. All of a sudden, like you're like, whoa, he lost. Like what the fuck just happened? Like
Yeah.
I need good guys who just talk a lot of shit. I just need that.
They've definitely, because I'm diehard for my entire life basically, and we've seen. I mean, UFC's making all this money, but I'm on MMA Twitter. I've been since I got Twitter, and I've never seen the fandom at such a low. And it's
Yeah.
because UFC's essentially the only company, right? You have one in Asia that's putting on awesome fights, but you can't really watch them. PFL's a joke. Um, and for the most part, like it's cool when guys like Max Holloway, Dustin Poirier, like they're good dudes. They're not gonna like. I don't necessarily want people to fake it, but we're almost in the
Yeah.
day and age where people are so afraid to be like a meme that like even if you remember like early like Justin Gaethje's debut against Michael uh oh my gosh, Michael
Uh,
Johnson.
yeah.
Um, like Michael Johnson, like he knew what was up. Like he always was a trash talker, but he did it extra for that fight. He was selling that fight. He got knocked out. It is what it is. He's still out there having a good career. Like we want somebody to cheer for, somebody to boo. Whatever side. I was a big Izzy fan. I still am. I can't wait to watch the fight this weekend. But I know people hated him. They thought he was boring. I always enjoyed him, but he gave you a reason like I'm tuning in because I want to see this dude lose or I want to see this guy continue his reign, like we need that.
Yep.
Even Habib, like he was more one of the more entertaining, wrestlers. He did damage, but like he would talk some trash still. He was talking trash before the Connor stuff happened. He would talk
Yeah.
trash. We all remember what he's doing to Michael Johnson again. Feel bad bringing up Michael
Yeah.
Johnson twice there,
My
but
man, man, you were just picking on Michael Johnson.
I know I love him. I feel bad. That was a really bad example there, but yes, you get the point.
Yeah, and it's like if you watch like boxing, you know, people need a bad guy. They just have to have him, and it could be one guy on the card. It can even be in the main event, or he don't even have to be in the main event. He can be co-main event. He can be in the opening of the fight. But you need that guy or woman, because Ronda was that person too.
Yeah.
Although her trash talk game wasn't as good, but you need that person who can elevate the game, and that's why like people in wrestling they remember great characters, and that's why like I lean heavy on the character side because for me as a heel I want you to just hate me. I want every time I come through the curtain, I don't care if you talk to me after the show, maybe I'll be cool with you, maybe I won't, but I want you to be like, bruh, you had me at the point that I wanted to jump that guardrail and stab you, and I'm like, thanks, love you too.
Yeah.
Like, I had a lady talking trash, and her son was like getting in the way. Like, just, you can't talk to my mom. No, don't talk to my mom. And I remember being like, hey, man, I'm gonna be real with you, okay? Kids need to go to bed. Mom and dad trying to have, mom and stepdad trying to have a conversation. Like, I love that kind of interaction where I got you emotionally connected. And I think that's the biggest driver for like pro wrestling, and it's the problem like I have with the UFC right now. Because somebody asked me, they're like, "Do you think that this deal with TKO is going to help the UFC?" And I said, "Absolutely." I was like, because WWE is attached in guys like Michael Chandler, guys like uh, who was another one I was thinking of, Bo Nichols. Like these guys can go talk to these wrestlers about how to sell a fight properly and make it mean something. Brock Lesnar was in the ring. Brock Lesnar was not like he had a lot of power, a lot of speed, had obviously the NCAA background, college wrestler, phenomenal, just freak athlete. But you didn't necessarily watch Brock because you saw he had hands. Brock Lesnar literally got told, if you ever disrespect another sponsor again, we're firing you. But you watched the next fight that Brock Lesnar was in because Brock Lesnar was talking shit. Like, what are we talking about? That's why CM Punk really didn't work out, right? CM Punk's over there like, yeah, mind you, he's at a lower end. He's still trying to work his way up. But he was like, yeah, I'm the best version of CM. We didn't get the CM Punk that we have right now in WWE, or the one that we had at AEW, or the guy who dropped a pipe bomb. It was just this guy who was like, yeah, I just respect everybody. I'm a white belt for life. I'm here for this. And like, that's why it failed. Had CM Punk just sold the fights like he would have done anywhere else, I'm not saying he would still be in the UFC, but he would at least had 4 fights.
The skill was a bit of an issue, but
This kid was huge.
yeah, it's interesting the TKO aspect because I'm gonna disagree. I don't think the fighters are actually incentivized anymore to do that, and
Yeah,
because there's no more pay-per-view model, we don't really know what their contracts are. We know that their pay is gone up, but I think that idea. I mean, we've seen Dana doesn't care anymore. They don't have the drive to sell pay-per-views the way they used to, and that really changed. When they sold back in what 2016, we knew
yeah.
we were going to have that huge bump of like great cards. I mean that time as a fan was unbelievable, right? But now they don't have the urge to sell pay-per-views, and we're seeing that in a lot of these pay-per-views, right? Like let's not even like the White House card. It's a very good card, but like we were getting promised all these things. If this was 2016, like you had Trump coming out saying that they're going to have 8 title fights. We all knew that wasn't going to be the case. That just isn't going to happen. But they're going to be stacking that thing with more fights, and you
Yeah.
know, yeah, that I mean, it was comical. I can appreciate the banter there, but yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Like, I would love if that was the case. I would love if guys could go out there and and self fights a little bit more. But at the same time, I think a lot of guys, we went through that era where everybody was trying to be the next Connor. Everyone was talking trash. Cody Garbrandt was trying to kind of have that. Cody Garbrandt talked about the UFC telling him go out and talk all this trash. And I mean, that dude has one of the greatest title fight performances of all time. And I was a big Cody. I still am. But, that wasn't really him. And unfortunately,
Yeah.
like that definitely played a part in losing himself, and now his career has never been the same.
Well, and the problem though is that with Cody, he had great striking, and he unfortunately, I wrote an article about this. Like, sorry, you guys can go look it up. I wrote an article about this. He ran into a PED version of TJ Dillashaw. And TJ at the time was not holding back. Like my man was, I don't know how you get so jacked at 145 and you still have room to cut to 135 to fight Demetrius Johnson. Like that was insane to me. But he was the bad guy. Like TJ
Yeah,
Dillashaw was letting everybody know how much of a badass he was, how good he was at this, and then Cody was trying to be like the, yeah, like I'm gonna do the thing tomorrow night, and we're it's gonna be a solid fight, but I'm gonna be the one that comes out top. And TJ was like, no, I'm gonna smash you, bro. Like he
yeah.
was also he's all
No,
roaring,
that's such a great
roaring it
example. I
up.
mean, their rivalry, like with Team Alpha Male and all that, and they fought twice. TJ knocks him out twice, and then cuts down to 25, fights Cejudo, and everyone's talk. They had the whole snake gimmick, and he played into that. And then they're
Yep.
trying to say that, oh, they're sending TJ down to 25 to kill the division. And instead of combating that, he's like, yeah, they are. I'm gonna go in there. I'm gonna take this belt and kill the division. Henry Cejudo knocks him out, becomes a huge babyface. Like
But
that's exactly what it is, babyface heel. Like we're making stars, and it's crazy. Like the
was
worlds are
this
so
Cejudo?
connected. Yeah, it was Cejudo. Cejudo beat
Yeah,
DJ before. Yeah,
that's right. That's right. And then DJ, yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it was crazy to me though that like and that's what I'm saying like, and also for T.J. Dillashaw to make that cut because I think he walked around at like 160,
yeah. He's a
and then to
big
go
boy.
down,
Yeah,
yeah, you go down to 25. I was like, dog, you have no fluids
yeah.
ever
I mean, no
anywhere.
wonder he had to take EPO. Like
Yeah,
he couldn't live. You know.
couldn't even live. Yeah, my man he got crushed. He got
Yeah,
crushed. I remember they said it too. They're like the reason why it happened is because like he has no fluid in the
yeah,
brain because it's all dehydrated, and then he gets socked, and it just shocked the whole
yeah,
system out. Not the
yeah.
way, bruh.
Brutal.
I just, but like you look at, and that's why I try to tell people, I'm like, listen, like great characters is what's gonna make great wrestling is always gonna be appreciated. It's always gonna be there. But when we talk about people, like we talk about Shawn Michaels, and Shawn Michaels is a great wrestler, but the funny part is Bret Hart, the best there is, best was, best ever will be. Man, we love Bret Hart wrestling, but when we talk about the top five, we don't disrespectfully, we don't put Bret in there because we talk about all these other characters. But like with Bret, like disrespectfully, like Bret doesn't get mentioned in the top five. We talk about it sometimes with Mount Rushmore, and we talk about great wrestlers, but mostly we're talking like The Undertaker, The Rock, Stone Cold, John Cena, Roddy Piper. Like we're talking about these guys who had like these bigger than life personas, and that's where I see you and I see like your promos that you cut, and I'm like, yo, this dude, he's got this like giant persona that he's putting out there, and his wrestling backs up what he's doing. So when I saw that you were announced for the ECWA, I was like, oh yeah, that's a perfect match. That's a no brainer right there. Like
I
makes sense.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was pretty surreal. I mean, I almost didn't even submit, to be honest with you. I saw a bunch of my friends from down in Virginia reposting it, and I was like, hmm, I should submit. And then I couldn't get myself to do it. I didn't have the confidence. I was like, I don't like any of my stuff enough. I suck, get in my own head. And I didn't do it. And then there was like a week left, and I just came off having my match with Sean LaBelle at PPW. And I was like, I'm gonna submit that, and then I forget what other match. There's like three that I could have, and I submitted them. I think while I was lifting, sent them off, and then I'm sitting on the couch, and it was January 6th. I went back and looked at the email the other week, and they told me I was in, and I couldn't believe it because like the stories that I told leading up to it were true about watching AJ and Amazing Red in the Super 8. Um, I as any kid, I go through phases of wrestling, but I got into a big TNA kick, and the first time seeing AJ coming out like right before that, it was Rey Mysterio for me, right? He'd come flying out of the entranceway. AJ's doing the same thing. He's got the cool hood. He's doing stuff I'd never seen somebody do, and I just had to find more AJ Styles. And I looked him up, and I found like some bootleg recording of their match in Super 8. And then, next thing I know, I'm gonna be in it. And you look at the list of the amazing people that have competed in it, not just won it, but competed. It was mind blowing. And like looking, and then like seeing the class of guys that were announced for this year, um, it felt very special, and I'm very very blessed and thankful to have gotten an opportunity to be a part of it.
Absolutely, and it was interesting too because you wrestled a old boy from Ireland. Like he came over and wrestled a bit.
He didn't come. He lives here now. He works at ECWA, and then he also, I believe, runs Labor of Love in Philadelphia.
Okay.
I'm not sure when he came over, but still, like the fact that it's like we have a guy from Ireland competing in it. A bunch
Yeah.
of guys from up in your area were competing in it, which is crazy. And
Yeah, so and it was
yeah,
funny because like seeing Ichiban, seeing TJ Crawford, seeing DJ Powers, like in the tournament too, I was like, yo, and then Miles Hawkins also being in there
yeah,
too, to kind of bring it back like to where we were talking about at the beginning of this. So to see all those guys together, I was like, damn, I know six of the dudes who's in this tournament. Like I've crossed paths with DJ, talked to him a couple times. I talked to Ichiban, but he only says Ichiban number one. That's
yeah.
all he
That's all
ever
he
does.
says. It's crazy.
It's all he says. It's crazy. He does the one thing all the time. And then of course the Silver Sniper himself. Like so to hear those guys and to see them, I'm like, yo, this is a good bunch of people that's in here.
TJ was like that was the first time I really got to like watch him. And like he's on a whole other level. And it was like mind blowing because like I'd seen his stuff, but to like really get to like sit there and watch the matches, because I mean he went all the way to the final, so I got to see him wrestle 3 times, like on a whole other level. And Ichiban, all of those guys are, and it's the only bummer is like I was standing back there with Miles, and we both said like it sucks to only have gotten to wrestle once because I wanted to wrestle all these guys, like just so many studs, and hopefully our paths cross someday. But yeah, I mean what a surreal experience. I mean standing there at one point and looking up, and there's all the banners and pictures of the guys, these names that have been in it, and I'm standing directly in front of an AJ Styles one, and I'm just like, what is going on? Like, and I'm Max. I didn't get. I wanted to picture myself next to it, as silly as that might sound. But I'm like, this is insane. Like, my name's like with these guys, and uh, I don't know if that belongs, but it does one way or another. It's there, so it is what it is.
Yeah, no, I like it too because when I look back and I see, like Channing Thomas was there and Dino was there. Now
Yeah.
you have been there, so it's funny looking back and seeing all the wrestlers, and I'm like, bro, I've worked a couple of these guys. Like this is kind of lit. Like so to me, I get to like live the surreal life of just being like, yo, I'm living vicariously through these dudes. Like, awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
No, all right, man. So let's move this over. I'm gonna move this to my favorite part of the Three Count Podcast. Um, so it is the Three Count Podcast 10 count questions, and this is how it works, Mister Stofko. I'm gonna ask you 10 questions, rapid fast, and whatever your answer is, that is your answer.
All right.
So let's put on the imaginary timer for ad pressure. Bing. And in the words of my favorite commentator, Mike Goldberg, here we go. Favorite movie of all time.
Revenge of the Sith.
Let's go. Favorite TV show that you're currently watching?
Oh man, I'm not watching the show right now. Uh, mm, I'll go The Office. No, Seinfeld. Seinfeld.
I was like both good picks.
Can't go
Both
wrong.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Marvel or DC?
Star Wars.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Favorite superhero?
Mm, not really a super. Well, I would consider Deadpool.
That's a great superhero. That's like
So, some people say not a superhero, but like for me, like, he is.
he used to sit right here, and then my wife told me I had to take him down. So now he just sits like down here, like on
Oh,
the
that's
bottom. He chills out with me.
yeah.
All right. Oh, what's your type of music?
Right now, mainly Christian reggae.
Okay.
Yeah.
Favorite song to work out to?
Oh man. Favorite song. That's a really I hate that question so much. Um, oh my gosh. You know what? Give me one. I know this is supposed to be rapid fire. I'm gonna look at the one that is currently up, all right? And that's gonna
That's
be the one
fine.
I
Do
say.
that.
Um, once this loads, because we got the old phone here. You know what? Right now it's No Idols by Brandon Lake, which is funny because that actually might be it. No Idols.
Okay. Uh, Netflix, Hulu, or YouTube?
YouTube.
Favorite video game?
Oh, I think all time it's another Star Wars. Star Wars The Force Unleashed.
Yeah, the first one?
Yeah. Honestly, I love the second one though too. A lot of people don't like it, but I loved it.
Yeah. Yeah, no. I like the second one just because you get the choice and you get the two different
Yeah.
endings.
Even
But
the Ultimate Sith edition, I got that one. That one was I remember that being a hard one to get,
yeah,
but I loved all those games. Bring them back.
yeah, the dope. Yeah, for me, it's definitely Def Jam's Fight for New York. I
Oh,
don't think
okay, yeah.
there's not a game better than that ever. All right, celebrity crush.
This is gonna sound so corny. I don't have one. I've got my
Even,
girlfriend. I don't have one, man.
even better. That works for me. Last but not least, my favorite question asked every single person that comes on this podcast. Favorite curse word.
I will say that it's cunt. I
Yeah.
love and I'm sorry to I know this is rapid fire, but I had a really weird situation, a realization I should say. Like I'll talk a lot of trash at times in a match, especially when like I'm in the zone. But then like, you can't curse too much. So then I find myself like saying these really mean and hurtful things, but it's quiet so the crowd doesn't even hear it. And I actually had that with TJ Sykes. I think I called him like a stupid cunt or something like that. And I'm like, nobody can hear this. I had him like in a cravat and I was saying it. I'm like, nobody can hear this. And sure enough, I went back to the match and you cannot hear it. So it just very mean then. So I'm sorry, TJ.
My favorite thing to do, and I have the video proof of this. Uh, TJ and I were working a match, and he had like a something on my throat, like it was like his tape. I forget. I'm like holding on. I'm being choked out, and like I'm going down, and like as I'm going down, I said something. I forget what I said. I think it's I knew it was gonna be one thing that popped TJ, and like in the match, you see TJ like duck his face, and he's laughing his ass off. And I was like, I couldn't remember what I said. It was something like, I feel like, oh, that's what it was. I was like, I feel like I'm being strangled by a really weak, really weak midget, or like really weak little person. And then he just like, he couldn't take it. He was just like, I'm just going to turn away real quick.
I love the conversations that happen in matches that nobody will ever hear, and most times we forget that they happen. But there's something special about those moments where it's like you're at your most vulnerable, you're tired, everything hurts, and it's just like you have a little conversation with somebody.
Yeah.
It's very unique.
Yeah. I've definitely had those combos where I'm like, hey, man, crowd's pretty hot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, there's nothing better than like that match I was telling you about with Dio Banda. Like we hit something in the opening, and it was like the first like high spot or whatever, and the reaction. It wasn't even like super loud, but we started getting like a "Let's go Dio, let's go Dan," and we're two baby faces, and I just like we're on the canvas selling. I'm just like we got him. It's like we're like 3, 4 minutes in. It's like oh we got him, and sure enough, so it's so cool being a part of those.
It was funny because like I had one of those moments too. I was at a show in DC, working in Dino actually, and earlier that day we had the kid show, and like I came out big baby face, and they had a second show that night, and it was for like 18 and up. So they're like, "Hey, we want Andino as a babyface. We want you as a heel, because Andino's from DC." So I was like, "Yeah, that works for me. I don't care." So I get to come out and I get to talk all this trash, and we hit this. I don't even know why we did it. It was ridiculous. We hit a superplex, and we hit the ground, and the crowd, whoa! And I remember like the crowd counting along with the ref, and just Dino and Dino leans over and he goes, "Hey man, you just want to take this home?" It's like, yeah, I do actually.
Yeah,
And we did. We just took it home. We were like, whatever.
yeah.
It worked.
It's funny because like you'll hit those moments and like you're so relaxed when you start to have like a little bit of a conversation, and from there it's like you almost hit that autopilot, that flow zone where it's like
Yep.
you're not thinking about the next spot, like you just know what's coming. If something gets a little bit weird, like it somehow looks perfect, like a good struggle fight in the footage, and it's like, man, when you get into that mode, there's nothing better.
Absolutely. Well, listen, those are all my questions I have for you. So the last thing I need you to do is let our listeners and our viewers know where they can find you.
It is at Dan Stofko on everything. Instagram, Twitter, X, whatever. I still call it Twitter. I'll never get over it
It's still
being
Twitter.
X, yeah.
Still Twitter to me, damn
Facebook.
it.
Yeah, exactly. Facebook, Dan Stofko, YouTube, Dan Stofko, prowrestlingtees.com/, Dan Stofko. Um, I really want to try to get back on the YouTube grind. I used to do monthly vlogs. I haven't done that in a while because it is so time consuming. But yeah, it takes forever. But man, like getting people sending me stuff of like their kids watching it and all that, which I don't know if they should be because it's sometimes some bad words fly. But I'd like to try to get back to doing that. I have some fun video ideas planned out, so subscribe over there on YouTube.
There you go. So we gave you all of his handles. He told you where you can find him. So you guys go out there, give the likes, the comments, the shares, support your man's right here. So you know what that means. Like every great part of a wrestling match, we gotta take this home. Cause this is the Three Count Podcast presents Now in Ring, and I am your host, Clifford Red Dawg, the man that beats you up that mountain called wrestling. But it's never about me, it's about who's entering. So who's entering? You see him right there. The ECW8 should have been champion. Dan Stofko himself. And you guys know what to do. Tune into the next episode and be there. Or you're subscribed to our YouTube channel, you're leaving those likes, you're giving those comments, you're even leaving those those 5-star frog splash reviews off the top rope onto your Apple device. You're even checking us out on Spotify, you're checking us out on Amazon Music, or on that dumb app with the stupid jingle that goes iHeartRadio, or whatever it is. You're supporting us at foryourwear.com. If you want to buy all of our new stuff, if you want to buy all of our classic stuff, you're checking us out on prowrestlingtees.com, checking out the Three Count Podcast. So you're telling your mom about us, your dad about us, your aunties, your uncles, your brothers, your sisters, your girlfriends, your boyfriends, your grandmas, your grandpas, your best friends, and your enemies, because hey, we love haters too. You're doing all that stuff, but really you're just kind of waiting for this episode to end, waiting for that outro, and then you're choosing another episode to listen to. Peace. What's up? It is your friendly neighborhood Red Dawg, and thank you for checking out this episode of the Three Count Podcast. Whether that was Chaz friends, Red Dawg friends, Damien friends, the film stars, now into the ring, now entering 201, or now returning to the ring, all those good episodes. You should really be liking, commenting, and even sharing this with your friends, family, whoever it may be. But what you all should be doing is checking us out on all of our social media platforms at 3 Count Pod. Whether that's on IG, Twitch, you can check us out on Threads, whatever it may be. And if you go check us out on X, it is 3count_pod. Check us out on YouTube, as well as Facebook, on Rumble, on Apple Music, on Spotify. All those fun things. Tell your mom about us, your dad about us, your aunties, your uncles, your brothers, your sisters, your cousins, and your best friends and your enemies, because we love haters too. Do all that stuff. And then, last but not least, buy our merch on foryourwear.com or prowrestlingtees.com. Kawaii.